So then His Holiness Satsvarup Maharaj visited the temple the next day, and I was in duality if I should go on a newly created Transcendental Road Show. I'm sure Indradyumna Swami knows about the Transcendental Road Show. Kirtananda Swami and Vishnu John and different devotees. So I was inclined to go to New Vrindavan and join New Vrindavan and join the Transcendental Road Show. And I asked Satsvarup Maharaj, and he thought for a moment. I said, I'll do whatever you say, Maharaj. I'll go to Europe, or I'll go down, with Vishnu John Maharaj. He said, well, go to Europe. I said, okay. So then Bhagavan, he said to me, actually, he said, I heard that Srila Prabhupada is also going to be going to London around the same time. Why don't you see if you can get on the same plane as Srila Prabhupada, and we can travel to Europe with Prabhupada. So I got on the phone and called the airport, and first I called the temple in New York, and I found out what flight Prabhupada was on, and then I called and sorry sir, we're completely overbooked on this flight. There's no way you're going to get on this flight. This flight closed up, weeks ago. And then there was some kind of talk in the back. Well, sir, actually, two seats have just been canceled. Although I'm not supposed to do this, we're supposed to take people from the waiting list. If you want, I'll give you those 2 seats. I said, I'll take them. So I always take it was Krishna's higher arrangement that, we got on the same flight as Srila Prabhupada, as you'll see. We drove to New York, and when we got there, Prabhupada, he heard that we would be coming to Europe with him, and he knew that we were going on this mission to start Krishna consciousness in France, so he called us into his room. And we came in and we sat down, and Prabhupada was just preaching about, spreading Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, and, translate books in the French language, into the French language, print them, distribute them, start temples, do Harinam Sankirtan. Just the two of us are sitting there, yes, yes, yes. And then he said to his servant, he said, get me something from my closet. So the servant went over and he got some socks and he got a dhoti of Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada looked at us and he said, I will give you some instructions. He looked me in the eyes and he said, preach boldly and have faith in the holy names. Then he gave me his dhoti as some Mahaprasad. Now, if I could open up my heart like Hanuman, and you would see those words etched in my heart. Preach boldly and have faith in the holy names. I took that as a personal instruction. Just like if we get a personal instruction from the spiritual master, what should we do? We should take that as our life and soul. When Srila Prabhupada received several instructions from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. If you ever get money, print books. Or the very first instruction, you're a nice Indian young gentleman, why don't you spread Krishna consciousness in the English-speaking language? Even before Prabhupada had got up from paying his obeisances. He hadn't even finished his obeisances. That first day he met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur on the roof of Calcutta. He said, I was just still getting up. And he said, you're a nice Indian gentleman. Why don't you spread Lord Chaitanya's teachings in the English-speaking language? So Prabhupada kept those instructions within his heart, and then when he read that famous purport in Bhagavad Gita where Srila Vishwanath Thakur is commenting that one should take the instruction of the spiritual master as his life and soul. So that is an example for all of us. So when Prabhupada said that, I just try to meditate that, take that into my heart, preach boldly and always have faith in the holy name. So the next morning we went to the airport, and these airport scenes were completely transcendentally chaotic. When Prabhupada arrived and Prabhupada left, I'm sure Radhanath Maharaj had many experiences like that as well. When Prabhupada came and Prabhupada left, it was just it was just transcendental chaos. So we got to the New York airport and there was like 400 devotees. And whatever people there were in line, I don't know what happened to them. They must have just got this, the 400 devotees just came and took over the whole place where you check in. And there was myself and Prabhupada, and there was a few other devotees who were coming with us, of course, Bhagavan, and there was Pradyumna, and there was another, maybe Shamsundar was there, I can't remember. Yeah, Shamsundar was there. And we all kind of came up, but just myself and Prabhupada got squeezed to the front, so we were the first ones that got through. We just got through, and there was another checking point where they check your hand luggage in those days. So then we're the next two there, and there's not even anyone behind us, because of course the devotees aren't checking in. They're just having this, huge kirtan, so all the other passengers can't get in and check in. So we went to the customs, and the customs officer. He was a grouchy big man, big, mean kind of burly fellow, and he said to Prabhupada, "Open up that bag." Prabhupada's little medicine bag. He used to carry this white bag. He had his medicines, his passport, his pen, his tilak container, all these transcendental items were in there. He used to carry this little white bag everywhere. So the man said, "Open up that bag." And Prabhupada put it on the counter, and he couldn't get the latch to open. So the man said, "I told you to open up that bag." So I leaned over and I said, "If you speak like that one more time to my spiritual master, I'm going to break your nose." So the man said, "I thought you guys were peaceniks. You were monks or something." I said, "You're going to see what I am. If you speak like that, I'm going to break your face." So he kind of backed off and he said, "Okay, you open it." So I thought, for that little transcendental, speaking up like that, I got this special mercy to look inside Prabhupada. So I was always wondering, did you see that white bag Prabhupada? I was always, what is in that bag? I could never imagine. So I looked at Prabhupada, he said, wow. I was like a little kid at Christmas, I did, and I very slowly, I opened it up, I look, there's a pen, and there's Prabhupada's mirror, and then look at that, and the customs said, I said, "I'm supposed to look at it, not you." So I said, "Yes, sir." And I turned it around, and he looked at it. He was like, "Whoa, what's that? What's that?" I said, "That's tilak, that's a tilak container, that's a tongue scraper." He was like, "What's going on here?" He couldn't figure. He said, "What are those medicines?" I said, "Ayurvedic medicine." He said, "Is there any drug?" I said, "No drug." He said, "All right, get out of here." Lifted up. So myself and Prabhupada, we got out of the airport and we were walking. We walked to the plane in those days. We walked to the plane. There was nobody. There were no other passengers. I couldn't figure out what's going on because the devotee was having this roaring kirtan. I could hear the police, they're trying to get out of here, you guys. We got other passengers on a plane. And, so we walked up, and then the hostess invited us, and we got on the plane, and we sit down, and, we're walking, long way to the plane. We're walking, and Prabhupada turns to me. He says, "These rascals," he said, "so much association with the material energy, they develop all bad qualities." He looked at me and said, "What is your name?" I said, "Indradyumna." He said, "What do you think?" "Yes." I was so nervous. I was with like my spiritual master for the first time, just the two of us. And he said, "So what do you think?" "Yes." We walk a little bit further. He goes on the same theme. He said, "You see this illusory energy, just hovering on the mental platform." He quoted one verse, "Hovering on the mental platform. Only devotees have good qualities. What do you think, Indradyumna?" He's speaking to me again. My spiritual master is speaking to me. "Yes!" So Prabhupada goes, I'm getting all nervous. He's going to think I'm crazy. He's going to think I'm completely mad. I'm a fool. I said, "I am a fool." And then one more time he stops and he turns and I turn to him and he says, "You see, this material energy is very contaminating. If we associate with this material energy, we can only develop bad qualities. But if we associate with the Lord and His devotees, and all good qualities come, just like the demigods. What do you think, Indradyumna?" Yes. And I understood. Before that, you're young in Krishna consciousness, and, it's the prasadam and the colors and this and that. But when Prabhupada was right in front of me, maybe he saw I had some affection, obviously for the material world and family members and mundane association. But from that point on, I was just thinking, it's true. You look at the world and you see, by associating with the material energy, the bad quality, but by associating with the Lord and His devotees, so many wonderful qualities come. So I was convinced. So I was smiling, and this time I got it. So we're walking, we get up on the plane, and just the passengers just started arriving now, but no devotees. 4 or 5 devotees hadn't come. So we're sitting in our seats, and I'm sitting next to Prabhupada. So he said, "So, prasad." But as we were coming onto the leaving, Shamasundar handed me a bag, and he said, "This is Prabhupada's prasadam, just to start him off if we don't get there immediately." I said, "Oh yes, prasad, Prabhupada." So I opened the bag, and there were oranges and a knife. So I said, "Oranges, fruit is nice, fruit." He said, "Fruit, very nice, first class." I took the fruit out, and I cut it, and there was a green napkin I put there, and I cut 2 oranges and put it in front of Prabhupada like that. And Prabhupada took them, and he was very loud, making noise. He was sucking the oranges like that. And then he put them back on the green napkin, and he said, "Finished." And I said, "What am I supposed to do now?" I'm supposed to take the oranges. So I took the oranges and put them in front of me. So I was sitting there like that. So he said, "You're not going to take prasadam?" And I said, "You ate it all, Prabhupada." So he said, "No, there's prasadam." I said, "There isn't." He said, "There's Maha Prasad." I went, "Oh yeah." Duh. There's Maha Prasadam. So with the permission of my spiritual master, I was going to take his I was so enthusiastic. I was so eager. I just popped the whole orange peel in my mouth. My eyes started watering. My lips started burning. My tongue was on fire. The orange, like... And I just kind of looked over at Prabhupada. He was like this. You crazy boy. Just suck on the orange. So whenever I read a verse that the disciple is supposed to be like a fool in front of the spiritual master, I think, that's me. So gradually the other devotees came on the plane, and, we started going, and then the plane took off, and then I was just next to Prabhupada, and then there was Pradyumna over there, and I can't remember who was on this side, and the plane we're about an hour into the flight, and the movie came on. So, I'm thinking, wow, I wonder what the movie is. No, I'm on the plane with Prabhupada. My movies are Maya. I'm going to show Prabhupada how fixed up I am. I wonder what the movie is. But anyway, my Bhagavad Gita out. Dayanosmin yatarihe Kovanam Yoganam Ja. Dearest Tatamayati. So, Prabhupada says here in the Bible, I'm reading, it's real dark, and then Prabhupada's laughing. I think, what's Prabhupada laughing for? Sarvadharma parityaja mamekam saranam raja ham tam savabhabebhyo. Prabhupada's watching the movie. Dehinosmin. And boy, was that a funny movie. Charlie Chaplin. He was so funny. And I'm laughing, and Prabhupada's laughing, Prabhupada looking at me. And Pradyumna's laughing, and Sham, we're laughing more than anybody on the plane. So then, I was like, ha, 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 ha. Woo! That was a good movie, And then after a minute, probably, hey, Ram, 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 hey, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So then I'm thinking, an hour goes by, and wait a minute, I thought we weren't supposed to watch movies. The problem was watching the movie, and then I started getting some doubts, and I'm thinking, well, probably supposed to clear our doubts up. So I wanted to say something to Prabhupada, but then I said, Pradyumna, I have to go to the restroom. So he said, you're a big boy, you can go yourself. I said, no, you come with me. He said, I said, I want to ask you something, I said, all right. So he came, went back there, and then I said, God, you got to come on. We're supposed to watch movies, Charlie, what's going on, So he said, why don't you just ask Prabhupada? I said, I'm too nervous. He said, you ask Prabhupada. You know Prabhupada better than me. He said, okay, I'll go ask Prabhupada. So he walks in, I'm sitting, waiting, what's the answer going to be? We're watching movies, and then he goes, and I see him speaking to Prabhupada, and Bruno's going, and he has a big smile on his face, and he comes back walking like this. I said, what's Prabhupada's answer? He said, oh yes. He said, Prabhupada told me that when he was a young boy, he used to watch Charlie Chaplin all the time. I said, yes. He said that he said Charlie Chaplin's humor is so original. And he said, Krishna is the source of all original things. He said, therefore, Prabhupada was seeing Krishna in Charlie Chaplin's humor. I was going, that's a great answer. I said, Krishna is the source of all original things, and Charlie Chaplin's humor is original. So Prabhupada was seeing, he was humorous, but he was seeing Krishna. I was thinking, I was just seeing Charlie Chaplin. I wasn't seeing Krishna. But anyway, so I came back, and then we landed. And that was the best day of my life.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.